How's it going, everybody? This is BeatTheBush. Today, I'm going to compare these two robotic vacuums, the Ecovacs T80 OMNI and the Dreame L40s Ultra. They're roughly in the same price category. This video is sponsored by Ecovacs, but I'm going to keep the review impartial by looking at only the test results. During my testing, these two vacuums are very similar in vacuuming performance. However, the Ecovacs outperforms the Dreame because it has a roller mop versus these flat rotating mops, where the Ozmo roller mop continuously cleans itself every rotation, whereas the Dreame rotating mops won't clean itself until it goes back to the base station. Now, this matters only if you have really large sauce messes that's really sticky or oily. MSRP pricing wise, the T80 is a bit cheaper than the Dreame L40s Ultra. It doesn't have an automatic cleaning solution loader, so you have to put it in a new tank of water every single time. The Dreame has its own tank, so it'll do it automatically. You just load the water. Height is about the same. Vacuum performance about the same. The Dreame can climb over ledges that's a little bit higher than the T80, but you might not need this feature at all if you don't have those things in your home. Mopping performance is strikingly better in the T80, especially for sticky and oily sauces. But realistically, how often are you going to clean sauces off the floor? Both of these robots have its own strength, and if you happen to get the L40s, if you kind of know its performance, what it can and cannot do, then maybe if you have a large sauce mess on the floor, you sort of spot clean it quickly at first, just wipe off the excess and then start the mopping. However, you don't have to do that with the T80s. Realistically, I never had that big a mess on the kitchen floor, so something like this works just as well for me. But if you get the T80, you know it can handle it a lot better, and it won't take 10 runs to clean it to the level where it's not sticky anymore. First, we're gonna take a quick look at the specs between the two. The MSRP for the Ecovacs T80 is $549.99, whereas the L40s is $699.99. So it's a little bit cheaper here, but depending on the sales going on, it might make one robot cheaper than another. Similar suction power, 18,000 pascals versus 19,000. Honestly, this slight difference is not going to matter too much. The T80 uses an AI VI3D 3.0, mixes a little bit of artificial intelligence, whereas in the Dreame it's 3D with a laser. There's a built-in headlamp in the T80, so you can operate it at night without trying to purposely turn on lights. There is no headlamp in the L40s Ultra, but the more expensive L40s AE version does have the headlamp. Obstacle clearing of 0.79 inches, whereas the L40s has an obstacle clearing of 0.87 inches per step. If it's multiple steps, it can add up to 1.57 inches. So just a tiny bit higher ability in crossing thresholds, which you may or may not need. Robot clearance in the T80 is 3.8 inches, whereas in the L40s is 3.75 inches. Very, very close. Both of these, I would say, is not the thinnest of robots, but they can fit under furniture as long as it's under 3.8 inches. The T80 side brush can extend and also retract into itself. The spinning brush is not on an arm or anything, but it's long enough so that it can still reach the edges. Whereas in the L40s, it can extend outwards, but even when it retracts, the brushes are still exposed. The main reason you want it to retract is not to touch the wet flooring, so that when it goes onto the carpet, it won't get the carpet wet. They have their own kind of detangling, Zero Tangle 3.0, which is pet friendly, whereas this one, they call it Hyper Stream Detangling Dual Brush. One rotates one way, the other one rotates the other, so it can catch anything it flings backwards. The main difference between these robots will come down to the mop. The T80 uses the newer style of mops, which is this roller type. It continuously cleans itself, whereas the L40s uses these dual round mops. It just keeps on mopping. It does not renew the water, so it has to go back to the station every single time. If it gets saturated with anything, it just keeps on mopping across the entire floor. The Ecovacs T80 says the roller mop has more than 16 times the pressure. The reason they say this is because there's less surface area over here. So less surface area means more pressure per square inch. If you look at what actually contacts the floor, is this tiny little strip here, maybe 3/4 inch wide. The surface area on these dual mops here, however, is a lot bigger. So it's going to have less pressure per square inch. Think of it as washing a window with your entire palm versus you're just using one single finger using the same pressure. The roller mop can extend outwards. The dual mops can also extend outwards. This one can lift the roller mop 0.39 inches off the bottom, whereas the L40S can lift it 0.41 inches, roughly the same. The main purpose of this is when it's wet, it's vacuuming carpet. It wants to lift those up so it doesn't drag a wet mop along the carpet. The T80 does not have removable mops. It just lifts itself up. I find that this is enough to not get the floor wet. However, the L40S can leave its mops in the base station completely in case there's like really high pile carpets that might become an issue. Then it can leave those mops in there. Mop rotational speed 220 RPM. I couldn't find it for the L40S. Frankly, I don't think that matters too much. Both of them can empty the internal dustbin into the dust bag. Hot mop washing are both at 167 degrees Fahrenheit. Hot air drying in the T80 is 113 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature, however, on the L40S is not specified. You'll notice you can't actually add a cleaning solution in the T80S. The reason is because they plan for you to add the solution inside the clean water tank. This means that it's not an automatic thing. You have to go and open it up and put some in here manually. For the L40S, there's a cleaning solution tank and you just fill this up and it's going to add it in for you automatically. Finally, both of them have removable dry boards. What is a dry board? It's this thing in here. It gets a little bit dirty, whereas this one, it has a smaller dry board. Any kind of debris that lands in here, you take it out and dump it out. First, let's do my standard vacuum test with paper shreds and pet hair. I'm going to spread the paper shreds everywhere, including the edges and corners. Next, I'm going to rub in some pet hair right in the center here. I'm going to start it on vacuum mode only on maximum suction power, deep cleaning speed with 2x passes. It left a few extra pieces, but this is kind of typical. When I add so much debris, it fills up the vacuum. Let's check to see if it's stuck. Yep. So I'm going to remove this extra bit that got stuck in the vacuum and then run it again. I'm starting to realize I put way too much debris for these vacuum tests because it fills up the robot rather quickly and gets kind of stuck. It's not an issue of the robot because I've seen this multiple times with different brands. But after I cleared it out and run it again, it did very well. Two pieces stuck along the edge that it cannot possibly get. There's this area here which is a little bit lower than the carpet, so it can't possibly suck that up. There's one in front of the robot here, none over there, none over there. So just 3 pieces of paper debris left over. In terms of pet hair, it's actually very clean. I do not see even a single strand of pet hair left over. So the vacuum performance is very good on this. I did run it on maximum suction power and also did 2 passes. So you saw it do a horizontal line and then a vertical line. Now I'm going to do the same tests on the Dreame L40s Ultra. For mapping this area, the Dreame had to come out, go in the corners, and then return back. Now let's run it and see how it does. The vacuuming results is similar on the first round. There's some debris left everywhere. It's proving to be too much debris for robot vacuums in general, not just the Ecovacs T80 OMNI, not just the Dreame L40s Ultra. These robots are intended for you to run pretty often, so it's not going to pick up a lot of debris all at once. Let me open this up. It got kind of jammed, similar to the other one, because so much went in here. I'm just going to empty this. And I'm going to run it one more time. The amount of debris here is more realistic of what you would encounter day to day. You'll notice the edges has a 4-inch band of debris on the carpeted area. Look right here, right there, right there, right there, right there. And just off of the camera, there's a whole band right here. So this is something you have to do on Dreame branded robots. The side brush is not on by default. Let me show you how to turn that on. You go on the upper right corner, carpet settings, go all the way down, side brush rotates on carpet. Okay, now let's try it again and see if it can clean everything up. Now we can finally take a look at the pet hair situation. It's done a reasonable job. I don't see any little pet hairs left over, but there are a few pieces here left on the edge, even though I turned on the edge cleaning brush. I ran it another time. I would consider this finally done. There's one piece that's stuck in the crevice, is impossible to get. There's one lone paper shred here on the towel area. It probably got kicked around. One piece here and a little piece there, and that's it. So as long as you don't have too much debris around and you turn on the side brush on carpet, then it would work well on carpets. I think the result is pretty good, and this is kind of the bar for 2026 robotic vacuums. Now I'm going to put black tea stains all over this kitchen floor to check the coverage. Now I'm going to run the mop on maximum moisture level, and we can see which tea stains it can pick up. It has gotten most of it except for these few stains next to the refrigerator. I think because there's a vent blowing it dry. There's also a couple of stains right in front of the base station as well. Instead of the deep cleaning path, I'm going to run it on the standard path. Tough stains takes a little bit more scrubbing. Same with robots. If it's really tough, you got to run it multiple times. That did a pretty good job, but I did notice that in between these tiles, there are some darker spots that it cannot get. This is more for manual cleaning where you have to go in the grout and clean it. It left a few stains here still and very faint stains in front of the refrigerator. One faint one in the very corner, which I think it cannot get because the robot doesn't fit over there. Let me run it one last time on a quick route. Now I'm going to do the same T-stain test for the Dreame L40s Ultra. It did a pretty reasonable job. I'd say similar to the T80. It also missed a few spots in front of the refrigerator right here and a few spots next to the rubber mat because it went over it lopsided. It didn't avoid the mat. It also missed out on this stain in the very corner here. Both robots did that. It just couldn't physically reach it. I'm going to run it again on a less dense route and see if it can cover more of the stains. After the second round, there's still one very faint stain right here. It happened to get those stains next to this rubber mat. One little one here, but I'm going to run it one last time on a less dense route and see if it can cover every little thing. Both robots performed reasonably when doing the T-stain coverage test. For both of them, most of the stains are removed. For both robots, it couldn't get this one in the corner. There were a few stains for both robots in front of the refrigerator. Overall, the total volume is roughly the same. Next, I'm going to do a ketchup test, which is going to be very messy and sticky. I'm going to have to add some solution. This is not included with the machine. 2 caps of this inside the water tank. And I'm going to go to town right here. A big mess. 1 packet, 2 packets. Now let's run it and see how well it cleans it up. Slowing it down right when it cleans a mess, notice that the ketchup stains get picked up in only 1 pass. Unsurprisingly, there's a little bit of ketchup stuck in the crevices, so I'll have to spot clean those. But overall, very good mopping performance, especially with ketchup. It just picked it up on 1 pass. A little bit tacky, so I might have to go over it another time. And the cleaning solution appears to help with the stains that's left over here. They're very, very faint now. Now let's compare it to the Dreame L40s Ultra. I'm going to use their included cleaning solution. It's inside here and this automatically dispenses. So 2 full packets of ketchup. Let's see how it does. Well, it's much worse than I expected. It didn't wash those mops and just kind of smeared it all across the kitchen floor, and it starts evaporating. It makes the whole place smells like ketchup. Even though I only put it over here, the ketchup stains, it's kind of sticky all the way on the other corner as well. So that is the reason you want those constantly cleaning roller mops instead of the round ones. I'm going to run it again because it went back to the base station to clean the mops. It should do a little bit better the second time around. I might have to run it multiple times to fully clean the whole floor. After another round, there's still ketchup stuck on this tile. This one is still sticky here. Sticky here, quite sticky here. The minimum wash frequency I can do is every 10 meters square, or by time every 10 minutes. That is probably the shortest one, so I'm gonna keep that one. And we're gonna start another cleaning cycle. This is round 4, 5, 6, and 7. Around round 7 is when the tackiness is roughly equivalent to the Ecovacs T80. I had to do round 8, 9, and 10 to be completely not tacky at all when I put my bare feet on. With just 1 run of the T80, it gets it to a reasonable level. It's still slightly tacky. For the L40s, it required about 7 runs to get to the same tackiness level as the T80, at least just from my touch. To get it to not sticky at all, I had to run this one 10 times. Overall, which one to get depends on your budget, but this one is a little bit cheaper and the mopping performance is a lot better. If you guys are interested in this Ecovacs DEEBOT T80 OMNI, check out my affiliate link down in the video description below. Thanks for watching this video. Until next time.